You found it, the Wichita Wow podcast with your host, Ed Fox. We'll be talking to Wichitans about the things they love about their city and what they themselves are doing in their community. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Thanks for listening. G'day, viewers and listeners. It's Ed Fox back with another episode of Wichita Wow, where we brag on Wichita and the people around the Wichita area. Spent 30 years living in Wichita and loved virtually every single minute of it. Today, my special guest is David Thorne. Now, David and I have known each other for, I don't know, since I started going to chamber events and doing different things around Wichita, and picked his brain a time or two. So we're excited to have him on as a guest. David, you're doing stuff in the community. You're pretty much well known as an innovator all around the country. You're on some boards. Man, it sounds like you got a bit going on.
Well, it's great to be here, Ed, and I love Wichita. So always happy to talk about it. I tell you what, one of the things that I remember about meeting with you was you always had such an innovative way to express not just what you have going on, but any challenges you saw people facing. And I always love the fact that you're looking for ways to help people with their challenges and not just putting your stuff out there, like just help me, and that's part of what I think continues to move in Wichita is helping each other out. So yeah, I get a chance to do a few things around here, but that's one of my favorite parts is just come alongside people like you.
Well, thank you. Those are kind words. I appreciate that. I get. It's interesting because Lee Gray, action coach, right? Lee's awesome. And I said to her, the two things that motivate me and what defines success for me is helping people grow their businesses and making them laugh. And she goes, well, how are we going to quantify that so that there's benchmarks and financial numbers that we can put with that? I'm like, Lee, that's why I'm coming to you. She is awesome, and I'm looking forward to having her on the show one day. I just got to talk her around to it. Speaking of which, you've seen these, right? Round to it. For those of you listening to the podcast. So I've been doing them, and I've got my picture on the other side, and I give them two because I say two Eds are better than one. So we have some fun down here.
Let's hope two heads are better than one. I don't know. Our two heads, maybe we make up a half a brain at this point. We'll have to wait and see.
There you go.
So one of the things
what have you been doing?
I've been playing a lot of pickleball. We'll get back to that, though. We'll get back to that. I just got back from a big conference, a huge window for my business, Thumbscore. Thumbscore, we're all here about financial health. We want everyone to improve their financial health. In fact, we started when the pandemic hit, and we looked around and we're like, man, this is going to affect so many people, and we have to do something about financial literacy. Financial literacy is so low, not just with the younger generations, with all the generations. We're going to do something now to make a difference for that. So my partners and I stepped in thinking that we could create this behavioral economics, behavioral science, AI engine to help people out, and we did. But then we realized there was a second innovation we had to figure out, and that was how to get it into people's hands.
Right.
When you're actually lowering your people's financial stress and helping them improve their life, you can't just give it to them and expect them to treat it with the value and respect that it really carries in their life. So we found different ways through financial institutions, insurance institutions to do that. And we've got about 250,000 people so far that we've been able to touch, which is a good start, but it's just a start. Right. I'll tell you, what I love about this is we just keep learning. We learn how people behave. We learn what people do in different situations with stress, situations with life moments. And it's not just about like someone has amazingly deep, strong character, so they just made it through this situation. There's one thing you can count people to do. One thing. You know what that is?
What is it?
Nothing. You can count people to do nothing. What we also know about people, and this is our brains are wired to protect us. Mm-hmm. And so they make shortcuts all the time. This happens in relationships when your trust is low, when you're trying to figure out how to navigate something, but this also happens when it comes to your financial health, family, and community. And those shortcuts are based off of personal experience and based off of whatever's going to protect you. It's not based off of a nice, deductive reasoning type of objective look. And so helping people take a step back, informing them at the right way at the right time is part of how we do that at Thumbscore, is we just make sure that they get what they need. And it's proven to be really helpful and really impactful. We're seeing a lot of numbers come back that tell us that people are engaging at over a 50% level into actions, next steps, things that really help them. And I'll just give you one quick example. Let's look at your monthly subscriptions. Let's
Right.
find $25 a month that you don't need to be spending in a monthly subscription. Let's move that over to a savings account. You're like, well, that's so doable. That seems so simple, right? Like it's a small little thing. It can carry a huge difference over time. Now let's change that. Let's go and use a 1970s perspective, right? That Intuit and some other big platforms are trying to still hammer on people, and that is you need 6 months of emergency savings, or you're just not going to survive. Nobody's going to go listen to that and take a step and say, "Oh, I want to hear from those people. They're going to really help me out."
Right.
If people are going to budget, they're going to budget. If they're not going to budget, they're not going to budget. You can't force people to do things. You can help them make small behavioral improvements, and that's a lot of what we do. So we've enjoyed the learning experience from that, and it's changed my whole perspective when I look at our community and just study people's behavior, how they respond to different things.
So how are you implementing that? Is this through an app? Is this through an online course? How's that working?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've had an app in the past, but that was not the most effective because our our audience is just fragmented everywhere.
Right.
You can't get to everybody and say, "Hey, come over here and use our app." No, we have embedded web platforms. So we have our own mythumbscore.com, but we have we're embedded in other platforms. So you might go to your retirement portal and log in, and you'll see Thumbscore stuff, but you won't know because it'll look the same way.
Okay.
I'll kind of make an example to brag on Wichita. Wichita has fantastic YMCA facilities.
Yep.
Just I think some of the best in the world. And just imagine all their personal trainers wear what? They wear red polo shirts. Just imagine that we were the personal trainers wearing red polo shirts, and we're in there helping people with not just a training session, but with nutrition and with other things we're qualified to do.
Right.
That's kind of like Thumbscore being embedded in these other platforms. We're helping people, even though people see us as just the regular YMCA red polo shirt wearing personal trainers.
Right.
That's how we reach a lot of people, and that's how we reach even more this month. We'll reach more the next month. By the end of 2025, our target is about 2 million
Okay.
lives to touch, and then growing from there. So we've got a lot of expectations, a lot of work to do.
Well, and you raise a good point, because COVID did affect, in my business, it affected a lot of small business owners, right? That went out of business due to not having the financial buffer or the knowledge on how to navigate through that. And I think a few of them, a few of us got some PPP money, some of them got idle loans, and now they're struggling to pay back those idle loans because business hasn't recovered. So what are three takeaways or three points that you could offer people that they need to be looking at right now?
On the personal or the business side?
Well, they probably will transfer across. You take your pick.
Okay. Yeah, on the business side, we're a profit first mentality, which means if it doesn't contribute to bringing in revenue, then it needs to contribute to maximizing profit.
Okay.
And so everyone on the team has to be rowing that boat the same direction. If there are people there just to collect a paycheck, that's something to reevaluate. But when it comes to financial management, managing that cash flow, as soon as you start spending money on something that is not specifically moving you forward, you're going the wrong direction. And so that profit first mentality means that you have to make sure you're really maximizing the opportunity that extra spend is. If it's a role, let's say you're going to hire someone to do a job, that needs to contribute significantly, not just enough to cover their cost,
Right.
but at least 3 times what their cost is. So there's a profit first is one thing, and it does apply to the home as well, but it's just extra expenses. You get into the mentality of what is it? I heard somewhere recently, there's 2 different ends of the spectrum when it comes to financial money management. There's one end is keep up with the Joneses. I got to live in this zip code. I got to drive this nice of a car. I've got to shop for my clothes here and do this and this. And that is called the wealth building. No, sorry, that's the opposite of the wealth building. That is the I don't want to ever be wealthy in my life mentality.
Right.
And then you have the ones over here that don't give a rip about the Joneses, don't care what zip code. They drive used vehicles, um, and they are pragmatic and possibly even practical. That is the wealth building mentality. Those are the people who end up owning most of the real estate and properties around. Those are the people who own the businesses that are creating jobs. Whereas the people over here, they can have a fine life, but they're not going to have much impact at the end of the day, and
Right.
they're just getting drawn away. So the wealth building, so you have private first. On the personal side, the wealth building mentality, which is just do the things that are going to build, and don't do the things that pull away from it. There's so much we learn on the spending side. And then the last thing I'll say is you never go wrong investing in people. I'm the son of a preacher, man, and I learned early on from my mom and dad. You invest in people. You do what you can to help other people, whether it's a light that turns on over their head, a light bulb, or anything else. You invest in people, and you don't wait. One of my mentors, one of my late mentors, who was billionaire, self-built billionaire, um, told me his biggest regret was he was in his 70s before he realized he hadn't ever like really engaged with his family or other people, and he started trying to give money away. He said it was amazing. It's more difficult to give money away than to make it. And he's right. To truly give is more difficult. And there are different types of behaviors I see out there, but some classic personalities that you've seen as well. People who talk about community, who talk about Wichita, and people who actually give of themselves all the time to make something happen. And I'll tell you, the second way is much more rewarding.
Yeah. And
Those would be my three.
well, thank you. So that leads us into talking about Wichita. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you raise a good point. I'd like to get the guys that from the YMCA on to talk about how they've built that, because they've had a lot of support for the YMCAs in Wichita. I'm down here in the Nashville, and some of the YMCAs really, really good. Some of the YMCAs in other counties not so great. We still own businesses in Wichita. We still own properties in Wichita. Our kids, two of our three kids are still in Wichita. We love coming back. What is going on in Wichita that you want to brag on for a minute?
Well, one, as a community, there's a deepened sense of collaboration, and I'd almost want to say vulnerability, openness to a level of vulnerability. I've been involved in several working sessions the past 3 months, and you don't even know this, on what's going on in the family side of things with foster care, bio, in that space, which is a huge challenge in our area. And we've had over 50 different organizations, nonprofit, government organizations, all come together and admit to their problems, which is massive. That doesn't usually happen,
Right.
and reach out to try to work with each other and help each other. That's one example of where the community just really wants to just stop. Let's toss away the egos, and let's try to do something impactful. So I will brag on Wichita in that sense, that you won't find too many cities our size that are able to do that and that have done that. Now that's a timing thing. That hasn't been around for super long. It might not last for many more years, but while it is here, we're going to make the most of it and make a difference for our community. So there's that, and on the business side, there's a few business leaders who have come together to try to create a clear vision for where Wichita business can go. And the great thing about Wichita and entrepreneurs is we don't need a lot of extra wind in our sails. We don't need a lot of people saying, "Atta boy," or "Look at what you're doing." We just need people to get out of our way sometimes.
Right.
Stop trying to slow us down. Stop trying to tell us we should do it this way or this way, and let us just do what we do. And we're seeing a tremendous step forward in that case. So that's those are a couple of things I would say that are pretty fantastic about Wichita that you're not going to see on the headlines.
Right.
You're not going to see those printed anywhere, but when you're here and plugged in, you're going to see just it's a huge improvement in our community.
Are you a business owner tired of paying cash for everything you do? There's a better way to get what you need without breaking the bank. It actually avoids the bank. Introducing Trade Bank of Wichita. Trade Bank helps businesses reduce expenses by exchanging your business's used goods and services for what you need without using cash. Plus, with Trade Bank, you'll have access to a network of businesses eager to trade with you, bringing in new opportunities for growth and success. Sometimes barter is smarter with Trade Bank. Apply today at wichita.tradebank.com.
Well, and I was telling somebody the other day down here in Nashville about the vibrant old town and the different things that are popping up in Wichita that we're not seeing elsewhere, which I think of like how they work together to make Old Town what it is and continue to grow that, right? But I was also talking to Cindy Miles the other day about nonprofits and people that start little nonprofits instead of working together to build the existing nonprofit that already does what these guys that are starting to do. And this is what you're talking about, the same thing she was, that the collaboration that's starting to happen is overriding this need to have my own thing and be in charge of it, working together for the betterment of the community.
Yeah, I think you can see that in really interesting areas. I think one of the things I mentioned on my profile was Ember Hope. That's one of the adoption and foster agencies that they've really grown over the years with a tremendous arc for just hiring the people, bringing people on their team that want to invest in other people. And that's a difficult place to work and to stay and to continue to serve. But they've done a tremendous job, and they're an example of a nonprofit that everyone can kind of believe in and say, here's where something really important is happening.
Right.
When it comes to some of the other growth in our community, some numbers people maybe don't know. Our Hispanic business community continues to grow. The buying power in our Hispanic community is massive. Last year, it was $3 billion just in the Wichita Hispanic community, just the buying power.
Yep.
And it's growing. It's the fastest growing part of our community. A lot of people, I think, are a few years behind understanding what that means. But one way to look at it is in the Wichita public school system, which is the city of Wichita space, you have like 37% of the students are Hispanic, and then about 28% are white, and then I think it's around 16% are African American, and then the segments get smaller. And so they're by far the largest segment in the Wichita schools right now, and they've been that way for a few years. And one of the privileges I have is to serve on the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, just to be a bit of a pillar for them, to help them grow and to kind of sustain momentum in specific directions in that community, because everybody wants to do business in the Hispanic community, but very few people know how
Right.
to do business there. And those who don't know how all do all the classic wrong things, right? Hey, let's give you something. Let's put this out there. No, they are thriving. They make entrepreneurs like me look like I'm standing still. They just continue to work. They continue to innovate. They continue to do just incredible things. They have terrific, long-standing values. They're going to take care of their families. They're going to take care of their neighbors, their community, and they're a huge part of our economy. So the question comes, what are corporations, what are other mainstay Wichita businesses doing to not just embrace, but fruitfully collaborate with the Hispanic business community? And a lot of them are just now trying to start answering that question. So that'll be a fascinating next 2-3 years look as we move forward in Wichita to see how that works.
Right. Yeah. I had a discussion with, I can't think of his name, but he owns Urban Focus magazine, African American community builder, JR. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the show notes anyway. But one of the things that interests me is getting those communities to work together, right? A lot of times we hear, well, you don't look like me or sound like me. Okay, well, just take the information and call it yours and do what you will with it, right? How do we work together instead of building walls to separate communities? Why don't we break down the walls and bring the communities together and find out how we can interact? And that's what I love as a small business owner, working with African American business owners and Hispanic business owners, because there's a lot I don't know, right? Like, guys, I'm clueless. How do we do this? Just to alluding to what you were just saying is, and how, if you were somebody like that, so say me, how would I find that information on how best to interact, add value, and receive value in return for what I'm providing? What would be the first steps?
Yeah, you mentioned something really, really interesting a couple minutes ago. You said breaking down existing walls instead of building walls, because part of learning how is to talk to people like some of us on the board of the Hispanic Chamber who have identified what the walls really are, what's really going on, and why they're there, and what's been done to help to tear some of those walls down. Because these are real people's lives, real people's investments, and there's a lot of humanity involved between minorities, between different segments of the community. I'm not saying that they're good reasons, but there are reasons why some segments don't particularly work well with other segments. And so instead of just kind of stepping in blindly with idealistic expectations, what you said is correct. Let's see what those walls are and start to break down the walls that can be broken, that are already starting to crumble.
Right.
And one thing we're seeing is where businesses can potentially work with large organizations, large government organizations. There's basically a mandate for large government organizations to work with minority businesses. And the way that is done here in Wichita is leaves a lot of room for improvement. A lot of our government entities, and if you listen, I've already talked with you, so this is not a surprise to those listening. A lot of those are they work with businesses outside of the state of Kansas, sometimes outside of the U.S.
Right.
And it's incredibly disappointing because you think about the tax base, you think about the benefits, everything stacking up to what that job means in Wichita as opposed to somewhere outside of Wichita. But it really is a conglomeration of bureaucratic failures. And that's one of the new missions I've kind of set on the last couple of years is we're going to create a super highway for minority businesses to work with the government organizations here in the Wichita area, so that it's an RFP process that just makes sense on a practical level. It's an open, transparent process. It's not limited to just a handful of friends of people down at City Hall, and the rest of it goes out of state. But we make it very, very simple and very doable. Anybody should have an opportunity if they want to. The fact is, most people don't want to do business with the local government because of how difficult it is to do. They don't have a consultant smelling words just oozing out of them to satisfy the types of lengthy RFP sets of questions and statements and repetition. But I ramble, which is exactly what those RFPs do.
That's okay. Well, I think you're exactly right, because Wichita, I've always felt, is such an entrepreneurial city, right? It just is. I mean, we've heard it all before. I'm not going to go into that. But they make it so tough to talk to government officials because none of those guys, well, I can't say none of them. Most of them don't have that entrepreneurial mindset, right? Or understand how to talk to entrepreneurs. These are the rules. This is what you got to do. That's all there is, and they've got to figure out better ways that we can work together. Anyway, so we're running out of time. I knew this would happen because you and I could talk for hours. What I do a thing called hidden gems. So what are your Wichita wows? Give me 3 wows or hidden gems around this Wichita metro area that you think are pretty cool that people should know about.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned one, which is Ember Hope. I'm
right.
too involved in the community not to mention a nonprofit. If you're thinking about supporting a local nonprofit or getting involved, start with Ember Hope. They're tremendous. They do a lot of good work, and it's very human. I see very few nonprofits do it as well as them. One of my favorite places to eat, the Thai tradition. I love Thai food. Can't get rid of that. Anywhere I go, I check it out, and nothing quite stacks up to the quality of Thai tradition. I love it. They're not paying me for this.
Where
So,
is Thai tradition? Where is it located?
Yeah, they are near Edgemoor and Central.
Okay.
They're over there near Edgemoor and Central, not far from Edgemoor Park.
Okay.
Which is super convenient because my third is pickleball. Now you probably know this. 36 million Americans play pickleball today.
Yep.
Right. It's booming everywhere. Eventually it'll get to Nashville, but we're talking about Wichita today.
Right.
There was a time when about half of the top 10 players in the world came from Wichita.
Right.
Pickleball, Wichita pickleball is legit. I've traveled around. I've played at different areas. It's the real deal in Wichita. And not only are the players terrific, but the community is even better. So my last hidden gem I'm going to brag on is the Wichita pickleball community. A lot of people like you and me, a lot of real people who've been through stuff. They don't put on airs. They don't try to keep up with the Joneses. They are quality people, and it's terrific to hang out, to be with them. If you're not athletic, you can have fun. If you are competitive, you can have fun. And maybe stay in shape a little bit too. So get that. Edgemoor Park's a great place.
Sorry,
right, huh?
I was going to say, I argue that round is a shape. I'm just saying, round is a shape.
Well, you do have a round to it, so that
that's right.
I'll give you the round part, but everything is a shape. It depends on what you want.
That's right. So I want to get into pickleball. But at 56, I'm still getting to play some cricket. We built a cricket field.
True. Yes.
So I still so they want me to umpire. I'm like, screw that. I want to play. Like I am super competitive. My kids never won a game that they didn't win on their own. When my son was like 13, we were playing a game of cricket, and I had all my Indian, Pakistani friends that we play cricket with. And the goal is to get to 100 runs. He got to like 98 and I got him out. And they're like, why didn't you let him score his 100? I'm like, when he scores his 100, he's gonna revel in it and have earned it. And so I bowl in this ball, and he hits it up, and I dive to my left and catch it. And he's like, oh, I didn't get my 100. I'm like, you'll get it next time. Just don't let me bowl to you, because I'll get you out. So super competitive. So next time I come back to Wichita, it's we need to get a game of pickleball. You need to school me and slaughter me and teach me how to play.
I'll bring you in. We'll have some fun.
Awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'd love to have you back and dig more into different elements of what's going on. And what's the best way for people to connect with you? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is best.
Okay. Yeah.
It's my name, David Thorne, Thorne. I'm right there.
Awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much.
It's been good. Thanks.
You found it, the Wichita Wow podcast with your host, Ed Fox. We'll be talking to Wichitans about the things they love about their city and what they themselves are doing in their community. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.